ACIOps ACI as code allows network administrators to describe ACI components such as tenants, application profiles, bridge domains, and endpoint groups in code, and Terraform will ensure that the actual infrastructure matches the declared configuration. This provides a more efficient, repeatable, and scalable way to manage ACI environments, especially when dealing with complex, large-scale networks. We have built this into ACIOps to help organizations significantly reduce the likelihood of implementation errors and improve the speed of configuration deployment. In addition, the configurations can be stored in version control systems like Git. This enables teams to track changes over time, roll back to previous versions, and manage infrastructure changes in a controlled manner. And the best part is, no knowledge of Terraform is required. But before we proceed, we need to ensure that the Terraform server is properly set up. Navigate to Admin, Systems, and select Terraform from the drop-down. Since we have already added a Terraform server, we are now ready to start working with ACI as code. We are going to create our first resource to demonstrate how ACI as code works. First, select the resource you want to configure. These resources are organized into resource categories. Examples of resources include a tenant, an endpoint group, a contract, etc. When we select the resource we want to create, we will see a view of the resource along with any relationships that need to be in place or configured before we proceed with creating the resource. At the bottom right of the page, we have an argument reference. Arguments define the configuration options for a particular resource and indicate which parameters are required and which are optional. At the top right of the page, you will see a list of the configurations you are currently working on, as well as a configuration history. The tenant we will create is called Coke, and will have the description Coke tenant. As we can see at the bottom right of the page, only the name is required while the other parameters are optional. I will go ahead and save the configuration, which will persist it in the database. A change reference is required to track and manage the change. The change has been saved but has not yet been pushed to the fabric. We can view our configuration, run a configuration plan, which should show us an execution preview of the changes that will be made to our infrastructure, approve the change, and apply the change. Firstly, I would like to view the configuration. We can see exactly what we have just created, and I think it looks good. So, I will go ahead and plan the configuration. The plan tells me that one resource will be created, no resources will be changed, and none will be destroyed or deleted. The planning feature is great because it allows us to confidently predict the impact of our configuration on the infrastructure before it is applied. I will approve the change and then proceed to apply it. To apply the change, I need to provide the change reference as a confirmation step and then apply the change. On the controller, I can see the newly created tenant along with its description. To take this a step further, I will create an additional resource. This time, an application profile within the Coke tenant. First, I select the application profile resource. The view now shows the resource I am about to create and its relationships. If we look at the argument reference, we see that to create the application profile, we need the tenant DN and the name of the application profile. Fortunately, we don't need to memorize any of the DNs because they are pre-fetched for us and can be found in the drop-down. The DN of the tenant we just created is present and we can select it. Then we will give the application profile a name and description. I will provide a change reference and save the configuration. I would like to make some changes before the configuration is applied to the infrastructure. To do that, I will click on the View Config button, use the Edit button to retrieve the config, and expand the configuration to see its contents. I will modify the description and save the configuration by clicking on the Save Changes button. I will go ahead and plan the configuration. I am okay with the plan. I will approve the configuration and apply the change after providing the change reference. The change is completed without any errors. If I look at the Coke tenant in the controller, I should see the newly created application profile.